My husband let his ex move in without asking, then chose her over me. Now I'm out and she's posting about sleeping with him.
I'm 27, and I've been married to my husband Jacob, who's 28, for just about 2 years now. But honestly, after what happened 3 days ago, I'm starting to think we might be heading toward divorce. It all started a couple of days ago when Jacob came home with a woman, someone he knew from high school.
Her name was Allison.
Now, I figured they must have just bumped into each other at the mall, since that's where Jacob had gone earlier. I assumed it was a spontaneous visit and maybe he'd invited her over for dinner or something. So I greeted her politely and treated her like I would any guest in our home.
But as dinner went on, I started to notice something off. The way she talked to Jacob, the familiarity, it just felt too personal. It honestly seemed like they used to date or had some kind of romantic history. By the time dessert came around, I was just waiting for her to leave. I tried to keep it together and be a good host, but deep down, I was uncomfortable. She kept leaning in toward him, touching his arm or brushing his hand like she couldn't go more than a few seconds without finding some excuse to make contact. And she was laughing way too hard at his jokes, even the ones that weren't funny at all. I mean, anyone watching would understand why I felt uneasy. I figured once dessert was done, she'd be on her way. But she stuck around. An hour passed, then another. It was almost 10 p.m. and she was still planted on our couch like she lived there. That's when I pulled Jacob aside and asked him what the hell was going on, because it was getting weird. That's when he dropped the bomb.
He told me that Allison had been evicted from her apartment after falling behind on rent for the past 4 months. She had nowhere to go. So he invited her to stay with us for the night, and maybe even the next few days, until she found a new place. And no, they hadn't randomly reconnected at the mall like I assumed.
Turns out they'd been talking for weeks online after linking back up through social media.
That's how he found out she needed a place, and that's when he offered her a spot in our home.
I was stunned. And pissed.
I asked him why he hadn't talked to me about this before bringing her into our home. I told him straight up that I wasn't comfortable with her being there. The way she acted around him all evening had my gut in knots. But Jacob brushed it all off, like I was being ridiculous. He said I was overreacting, that he was just helping out a friend who needed a hand.
But I wasn't buying it. I told him flat out that I wanted her to leave. That I didn't sign up for this, and I wasn't okay with it. He refused. Said he'd already promised her she could stay and couldn't go back on it now. Apparently, she'd moved all her stuff out of her old apartment that day, and he'd even helped her do it. According to him, it was too late to back out. His behavior was really starting to weird me out. I pressed him for the truth. Who was this Allison to him, really? That's when he admitted it.
She wasn't just some old friend, she was his ex-girlfriend from senior year of high school. They broke up when he left for college.
Hearing that felt like a gut punch. The absolute last thing I wanted was for his ex to be living under our roof, especially one who still seemed hung up on him. Jacob swore it was ancient history, that there was nothing between them anymore, but that didn't do a damn thing to ease my mind. I told him again I wanted her out. I wasn't going to stand by and watch this unfold in my own home. I was angry, and I wasn't hiding it. But instead of taking me seriously, Jacob looked me dead in the eye and said he wasn't going to kick her out. And if I had a problem with her staying, then I could be the one to leave. He said I was being insecure, and that I was the issue, not the fact that he secretly reconnected with an ex and invited her to move into our home without even talking to me about it. Then he just walked away.
Left me standing alone in the bedroom, stunned.
I couldn't believe it. He chose her over me, his wife of 2 years. We'd been together for almost 5 years total. You'd think that would count for more than some teenage fling from back in the day. I sat there, speechless. And after a minute or two, I walked back into the living room, trying to make sense of what I just heard. And there they were, Jacob and Allison, sitting side by side on the couch, laughing at some stupid sitcom like nothing had happened. And then Allison, bold as ever, looked right at me and said, "Come sit with us." She even scooted over a little so I'd be forced to sit beside her while she leaned in closer to my husband. That was it for me.
I turned around, walked back into the bedroom, grabbed a bag, threw in some essentials, and walked right past them into the living room again.
I didn't care if she was sitting there. I looked Jacob in the eye and told him either she leaves right now, or I'm gone. And you know what he did? Nothing. Not a word. He just sat there, lips tight, eyes glued to the TV.
Allison got up and started talking to me in this fake sweet tone, saying she didn't mean to cause any trouble and that she was just an old friend, and that's all it's gonna be.
Then she turned to Jacob and said, "Right, Jake?" And let me tell you, Jacob hates being called Jake. He's always hated it. But when she said it, he didn't flinch. He just let it slide. I didn't say anything else. I just sighed, turned around, and walked out the door. Slammed it behind me as hard as I could. And he didn't chase after me. He didn't try to stop me. Neither of them did. Which, honestly, tells me everything I need to know. And yeah, it was a little creepy, but I didn't leave right away. I lingered outside for a few minutes, wanting to see what they'd do next. After I walked out, I know it probably sounds a little crazy, but deep down, I felt like I was doing the right thing. And honestly, thank God I did, because I had this gut feeling something wasn't right, and I decided to trust it. We never fully close our curtains, so I was able to peek through the window without being seen. And what I saw confirmed everything I'd been worried about. Jacob and Allison were sitting right next to each other on the couch, talking quietly. I couldn't hear much, but it was clear from their expressions and the way Jacob kept glancing around that the conversation was about me. He looked upset, maybe even conflicted. And then, to my absolute shock, I saw Jacob lean over and rest his head right in Allison's lap. She started stroking his hair like it was the most natural thing in the world. I was furious. My heart was pounding, and in the heat of the moment, I pulled out my phone and snapped a picture of them. I made sure to get a clear shot where both their faces were visible, no question about who was who. They didn't even know I was outside, watching. After I took the photo, I didn't feel like sticking around any longer. I walked the whole way to a friend's place. I could have driven, but I was in no mood to get behind the wheel. I needed the walk. I needed time to think, to process everything I'd just seen, because my blood was boiling and I couldn't think straight. Right before I knocked on her door, I stopped and pulled out my phone again. I posted that picture online with a single word, cheater. That was it, no explanation, just that. I hit post, then knocked. My friend opened the door and let me in, but she'd already seen the post and was looking at me with wide eyes. "What the heck is this about?" she asked before I'd even sat down. Once we were in the living room and I had a moment to collect myself, I told her everything. I laid out the whole story, from dinner to the lap incident. After I finished, she was quiet for a second, then told me she thought I might have gone a little too far. She agreed that Jacob needed to be called out, but said posting such an intimate photo, one that was clearly personal, probably wasn't the smartest way to handle things. She warned me that if things escalated, I could actually face legal trouble for sharing it like that. And as much as I didn't want to hear it, what she said made sense. So I decided to delete the photo from my account. But even after I took it down, I kept getting message after message from people asking me to repost it. Some said Jacob deserved the exposure, that he needed to be humiliated like that. Part of me was touched, like, okay, at least people were on my side. But my friend gave me a reality check I really needed. She looked at me and said, "They don't care about you. They're not thinking about your marriage or your pain, they're here for the gossip." That's it. And you know what? She was absolutely right. So I shut off my phone and tried to find something, anything, to take my mind off everything. It was already late, and after sitting around for a bit, I just went to bed. When I woke up the next morning, my friend was waiting for me with news. Jacob was in the living room. He'd shown up just a few minutes earlier, and even though she'd tried to get him to leave, he refused. Said he wouldn't go until he talked to me. I figured he was there to apologize, and I was already prepared to turn him down flat. I had no intention of forgiving him, not after everything he'd done. So I walked out, ready with my speech, ready to tell him off. But the first thing that came out of his mouth wasn't an apology. He looked at me and said, "I'm sorry, but are you insane? What the hell were you thinking?" I knew immediately he was talking about the picture I'd posted the night before, but his reaction was beyond angry. He looked like he was unraveling, completely panicked. Then it all made sense. He told me that someone had forwarded the photo to his parents, and now neither of them was speaking to him. This was a huge problem for Jacob, because he'd been planning to quit his job and start a business, and he was counting on his dad to invest in the new venture. Now his father wasn't returning his calls, and his mother had blocked his number entirely. They hadn't given him any explanation, but the timing made it obvious. My post was the reason. Now he wanted me to reach out to his parents and tell them the picture was a prank or some kind of misunderstanding, anything to smooth things over so they'd talk to him again. According to him, my stupid mistake was ruining his future. And honestly, if he'd come in humbly and admitted he messed up, I might have felt some guilt. Maybe even sympathy. But the way he marched in like I was the one who owed him something, that lit me up. I told him flat out that he brought this on himself. He was the one sneaking around with his ex-girlfriend. He was the one who made me feel like a stranger in my own home. He snapped back, saying Allison was just a friend and that I was blowing everything out of proportion. Then he started throwing accusations, calling me insecure, jealous, and toxic.
He said the reason his head was on Allison's lap was because she was comforting him after I left.
According to him, nothing else happened.
That's not who he is, he claimed.
But I didn't believe a word of it.
I told him I didn't trust him anymore, not even a little, and that I was done wasting my time arguing. As far as I was concerned, even if they hadn't physically done anything, he was emotionally involved with her, and that was already crossing a line. I saw it with my own two eyes. And even if I tried to erase the image of him laying in her lap, I still wouldn't be able to forget that he chose to let her stay with us even after I told him I wasn't okay with it. I had already given Jacob an ultimatum. It was either me or Allison. And he made his choice, he picked her.
I couldn't accept that.
Honestly, I don't think any woman in my shoes would be okay with something like that. So I told him to leave.
And he did. But not before throwing out a chilling, "This isn't over."
It sounded like a threat, probably was one, but so far, he hasn't followed through with anything except blowing up my phone with message after message, begging me to reach out to his parents and fix things for him.
My friend thinks I should help smooth things over, at least with his parents.
She understands that what Jacob did to me was awful, but she also believes I crossed a line when I posted that picture. She said even if I wanted to call him out, putting a private moment online, especially a photo like that, wasn't the right move. To her, it felt like a breach of privacy.
And deep down, I know she's right.
But I also can't just brush aside what Jacob did. I'm pretty sure Allison is still living in that house, my house, and every time I even think about the two of them in there together, I feel sick.
The rage bubbles up all over again. Maybe I shouldn't have shared that picture, but honestly,
I don't think he deserves my sympathy. I mean, I posted a photo of my husband with his head resting in his high school ex's lap after he chose her over me. That's the truth.
Update 1. So, I've made up my mind. I'm not going to talk to Jacob's parents. Like I said in my original post, I really don't believe he deserves any favors from me right now.
If he wants to repair the mess he made, that's on him. I'm not about to run around doing damage control for someone who shattered my trust and turned my life upside down. It's been 4 days since I shared that post and almost a full week since Allison first walked through our front door.
And yeah, I'm pretty sure she's still living with Jacob.
I created a fake social media account to check her profile, and from the background and the pictures and videos she's been uploading, there's no doubt in my mind.
She's still in my home. Seeing those posts made my stomach turn.
The fact that Jacob is still letting her stay there even after everything just blows my mind.
But honestly, at this point, what else is left to ruin?
He might as well stay with her.
We've hit the point of no return. There's no coming back from this.
I can't imagine going back to him, and it doesn't seem like he's going to try either. The only messages I've gotten from him are about his parents. He just wants me to fix that problem for him.
I've been ignoring every text. I haven't blocked his number yet, but I will. Just not quite yet. I guess I'm still holding onto the last threads of a relationship that lasted for years. It's hard to just cut it all off in one go. I was angry before. When I wrote that first post, I was fueled by rage. But now, that fire's gone. All that's left is heartbreak. Because I know this is it. This is how my marriage ends. What hurts the most is that I never saw it coming. A lot of people have asked if there were signs if Jacob had seemed bored or distant. But no, there weren't any. He never gave me any reason to doubt him. I never once thought he'd even consider cheating. Not in a million years. We'd been in love for years. And in the beginning, he was the one who chased me hard. I was hesitant at first, but once I gave him a chance, we were all in. There was no looking back, until now. And now it's over. I'm devastated. Saying I'm shattered doesn't even come close to describing how I feel.
The only silver lining is the support I've gotten from my friends, my parents, and even people online.
I'm truly grateful for that. I just hope I can stay strong through the divorce. Yes, I filed for divorce. It's been a day now.
And I'll be honest, I thought I'd feel empowered, relieved, maybe even confident.
But instead, I feel exhausted, anxious, lost.
I'm still staying with my friend and working from home because I don't have the strength to face the world just yet.
Update 2. Jacob was officially served with the divorce papers today. He called me right away, asking if I was really serious about ending things. I told him yes, I was. That's when he completely lost it. He started yelling so loud I had to hold the phone away from my ear. He accused me of taking things too far, begged me to believe that nothing inappropriate had happened with Allison. So I asked him straight up, is she still living in our house? He hesitated for a second, then admitted the truth, yes, she was still staying with him. She'd been living there ever since I walked out. He said she'd been his emotional support after everything went down. I couldn't help but laugh at the irony.
I pointed out that if it weren't for Allison and their little friendship, none of this would have happened and he wouldn't need emotional support in the first place.
That hit a nerve.
He got even more upset and told me that Allison always spoke highly of me. According to him, she thought I was great. And apparently, he was disappointed in me for treating her like competition instead of some old friend.
But honestly,
at this point, I don't care what she says about me. She's not the one whose life just got torn apart. I told Jacob straight up I didn't give a damn what Allison thought of me.
this whole mess wasn't about her. It was about him, us.
I reminded him that I was divorcing him, not Allison. He was the one who broke my trust.
I couldn't care less about that woman, even if I tried. But I did expect certain things from the man I married. And he failed. I expected loyalty.
I expected my husband to put our marriage and my feelings ahead of some so-called friendship with a high school ex.
That didn't seem like too much to ask.
He told me, once again, that I was being unfair.
Said I was overreacting.
Claimed yet again that Allison was just a friend, like repeating it enough times was going to make it true or change how I felt. Then he turned it around and asked me what I would have done if the roles were reversed if a male friend came to me asking for help. I told him the truth. I would have helped, sure, but the moment my husband said he wasn't okay with it, I'd set boundaries.
No question.
Because my marriage would come first.
Always.
And clearly, he didn't feel the same. At that point, he started sounding frustrated, like I was the problem. He told me I was being too emotional and needed to handle my feelings like an adult. He accused me of acting like a child, crying and storming out just because things didn't go my way. Then he started going off on a tangent about how life's not fair and all that nonsense, but I wasn't in the mood to be lectured.
I hung up on him. A few seconds later, he texted me. Called me immature.
Said I wasn't the victim in all this, he was. According to him, it was my fault that his parents weren't speaking to him and that his business plans were on hold. He actually said he deserved an apology.
An apology?
All because I made him feel bad for helping a friend.
I texted him right back. I told him, you know what? I am sorry I didn't go far enough.
Then I added, to make it fair, I'll just go post a photo of me cuddling up with some of my guy friends, maybe that'll help you understand how it felt.
And then I blocked him. Done and dusted. Update 3. So now we're deep into the settlement phase.
It's going to be a bit before the divorce is final, but things are moving along. Then, just yesterday, I got a message that made my eyes roll so hard I nearly saw the back of my skull.
It was from Allison.
She texted to say she was really sorry, her words, because, according to her, she accidentally slept with Jacob.
Accidentally. Right.
She claimed he was going through a rough time with the divorce, and she was just trying to comfort him, and somehow, they ended up in bed.
What a coincidence. I didn't buy it for a second.
They've been living together for over 3 weeks now.
There's no way that was the first time anything happened between them. But honestly, I don't care anymore.
Let her have him.
She can keep him. I'm done.
If she thinks the guy who cheated on his wife of 2 years isn't going to do the same to her eventually, then she's in for a real surprise.
Once a cheater, always a cheater. That's not bitterness, it's just reality. But hey, that's not my problem anymore. I'm out of this mess for good.